Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive
da-dong.
Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome to Aquarian Radio at aquarianradio.com. I'm your host, Janet Care Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lessin. And today we are going to interview Benoit Carpent, and we're going to be talking about Benoit's involvement with A.R. Bordon, the Linkage Institute, and the Life Physics Group, and much more. Ben is a civil engineer, and his heart is in business. He says, I am now investing my time and energy into assisting people becoming sovereign beings through service. I'm particularly gifted in finding the real essence of a business, designing an intention and a business model aligned with that intention so that service is magnified. The perspective I work from and the intelligence acceleration I have benefited from allows me to solve complex problems in the business context. He now offers his services through godsinbusiness.com, and his other website is BenoitCarpent.com. All is one. Reality is both thought and matter. We create who we are and what we experience. We are the technology, as A.R. Bordon would say. He has one foot in entrepreneurship and the other in life physics, and he assists people with intelligence, acceleration, and personal evolution, designing business from and for abundance, aligned for rapid growth, and his project is called Gods in Business. So, Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say before we bring on Benoit?
Well, this is Benoit. Your work has resonated with stuff that I've been studying, starting with Ken Wilber, who talks about how embracing the opposites at any level of consciousness automatically up-levels you, so that when you're identified with your intellect and you add your body and take simultaneously into consideration your body and your intellect, then you've raised your level of consciousness to that of a body-mind, and so forth. And in psychology, this works of Hal Stone, my primary teacher, are that you can center yourself and embrace the opposites within you. Well, in this holographic universe, the opposites within you are the opposites within the universe, and by embracing them, which is the contribution of A.R. Bordon, you can actually transcend the box that you're in, transcend the matrix. You can simultaneously have a spiritual and material experience. And what Benoit has done is applied this magnificently to business, and I'm really looking forward to this program.
Welcome very much to our show.
Thank you so much.
Much alive. Okay. Hi. How's the weather where you are? And where are you?
I'm in Belgium now. I'm in Brussels, and the weather's pretty good these days. It's really nice to have. It's pretty rare in Belgium, actually.
It's rare to have good weather in Belgium. I didn't know that. So then, let me see if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Could you pronounce your name for our listeners? Make sure we got it correctly.
Okay. So my name is in French, and it's Benoit Carpent. But if you can call me Ben if you like, it's fine.
Ben's great. Kind of simplifies things. Ben, would you like to tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your work?
My work is a direct product of what AR taught me, actually. This is why I'd like to thank you so much, Janet and Sasha, for the work you're doing around AR. It's such a pleasure to first hear about other people's stories with AR, And second, it's a great way to honor him, his work, and show that beyond, because life physics and AR's work can be intimidating. There's a huge learning curve, but the benefits beyond that are awesome. And I feel it's the future of humanity, and it's great to put that work into the spotlight. So thank you so much.
Well, you're most welcome. And I still have a huge learning curve involving AR's information. There's volumes of things to read through, and I know there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been published and isn't available yet. And the team that's assembling around AR's work is, working hard to get that out to the public. But what is your involvement with AR? Would you like to kind of explain also to our listeners who is the mysterious AR Bordon? What is the Linkage Institute, the Life Physics Group, and he kind of summarized their work and what it would bring to the table for humanity.
Well, who is AR is kind of the million-dollar question. AR was a really mysterious man of immense intelligence. He had an immense heart, a strong willingness to help people who are willing to assist humanity in evolution. He gave his time very generously, his time and energy very generously to me and to the rest of the group who has already spoken. So to me, AR had several lines of work, I would say. The first one that I enjoyed very much was in conveying a new model of reality that he called the working model. And for people who know a bit of David Bohm and the holographic universe, it was kind of the 3-step further model. So it's kind of the same thing, but much more refined. He goes much more into details, and he can explain how things work in a very precise way, which I love very much. So that's the first line. So now that if we live and understand how reality works, a few skills can appear. We're no longer creatures in meat bodies. The body-mind appears itself as technology that can process and acquire information. And that's the second line of work. A few, what he called extended human functions appear. So one of them is extension neurosensing. It's kind of a way of acquisition and processing information in a way that I had never heard before. A way to connect to people, a way to connect to yourself also. So we're not just these biominds, these meat suits with a built-in intelligence. AR would say we are a cloud of information that is vast and that we truly are. So that's the second line, the skills and the functions that we can use in everyday life. And of course, the third line would be the connection with ETs, and that would be more linked with the Linkage Institute. So I think that's a good summary of AR. The model, the skills, and the broader context of we're not alone in the universe, and he had much knowledge about that as well.
Is it? Were you aware that he interacted with? What is your awareness of his interaction with extraterrestrials? Did you ever attend any meetings or meet any extraterrestrials? Tell us more about how you knew he was involved with extraterrestrials and which ones were they?
All right. How I learned about it very early on, he passed on to me papers about what he called topological thinking, which is a way of accessing information and processing information that is extremely interesting to me. And one of the first lines of the document was something like, one way we are being helped by ETs is in developing topological thinking. So right away, I knew it was not knowledge that we had developed. When I say we, I mean humankind. We had developed from the ground up. We were handed some technologies, afterwards, I learned about, through our interactions, he would spot some limitations I would have, and he would tell me, all right, Ben, it's time to dig out spell yourself, so read a bit of Neil Freer's writings, and so I would broaden my understanding of the universe and the beings that inhabit it, learning that indeed there are some ETs around and very near as well. Then he invited me to join the Link and the Linkage Institute. But to be honest, my heart was more into working with mankind in attaining a sovereign state, and I think he could feel that, and it would not overflow me with information and just give me what would serve me in my next steps. One thing,
one people that we've interviewed have said directly that AR was himself an Anunnaki. Do you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, I said I was with a smile. He never mentioned anything about this, but from the level of understanding he had and the skills he had, it was a strong suspicion I had that he was not just human, and he was of a particular nature. That is for sure.
Thank you.
So you mentioned earlier a couple things I wanted to go back to, and I missed a couple things as well. What is topological thinking? Can you explain that to our listeners?
All right. So if we see the universe as made of energy as information, and it's a projection of something, meaning that we can access information, as you would say, anywhere, anywhen, meaning it's like accessing a hard drive or a saved game in a computer game. It's not just where you are, the local space-time you are in. You can access pretty much any type of information you'd like. The thing is to allow that in your body, in your belief system, and practice it. So topological thinking, to me, is a way of accessing and processing information. So this, of course, is not done just with the cortical brain. You have to use your whole body-mind in a way as an integrated form, as one single unit. And then with enhanced energetics in your body, you can truly process a huge amount of information and derive solutions that just linear analytical thinking does not allow for. So I think that would be the best. I think Karen has a great metaphor for topological thinking. She split the word and she says it's top on logical thinking. So it's above the logical thinking, and it's a really great way to put it.
Excellent. So if I'm understanding you correctly, we're accessing the cloud, kind of like the cloud in the internet terms, or the morphogenetic field, or the matrix, and we're thinking in terms of not just this linear dimension, but in all. I don't know. I'm kind of grasping for words. What's your opinion, Sasha?
I've seen this happen so many times. I facilitate holotropic breath work and theogen work, and many, many times people will have topological experiences totally, and they'll feel what's happening in their cells or in atoms or any place in the Akashic records or the experiences that beings of the universe have. They can become a lion and feel the hunger in the back of their neck. They can become a plant and feel photosynthesis. This seems to me to be topological thinking when the intellect is put on observation but not completely obliterated. Yes,
that's a very good example. So many people can have had already, some intuition about what's going to happen, and it turns out that it's right. So it's kind of accessing information from the future, but on a very short scale, 1 to 5 seconds. So topological thinking would be accessing it on much larger scales, much larger distances, and much larger information sets.
Yeah.
So the use of it is that you can take. Yeah, go ahead.
by certain practices or certain places, like being in certain places or and doing certain types of meditation?
Yeah, so the basic skill of it is to cultivate within you a state of peace. So meditation helps a lot with that, also to release the contradiction within ourselves so that we are more integrated beings. So once you kind of reach the state of peace, you can put your attention and your intention onto certain things, and then this is not innocent actions. Stuff happens when you do that. So you access information. You can also access beings, and then there's transfer of information. Now, what you do with it, either you can be overwhelmed with it and you want to push it away, or you kind of dive into it with a clear intention, and you can derive a precise meaning out of it. You can find solutions, simple solutions to really complex problems involving lots of different parameters and constraints, and this is why I find it really useful in the business world, where things can seem a bit chaotic sometimes, and solutions are really at hand once you know how to ask the question, so to speak.
So you had mentioned earlier that AR said to read the works of Neil Freer. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, I did read 2 of his books, I think.
Huh?
I think that was Neil Freer and Zakaria Sitchin kind of provide a clear and well-documented versions of history that make a lot of sense on the large scale, and that they provide a good framework to think about how mankind was brought up and how we are not alone in the universe.
Are you aware of any areas that AR was in alignment with their information and where he diverged from it? Did he express that, this was accurate and this was inaccurate to you?
Yeah, that's a good opportunity to explain a bit how AR interacted with me, and I imagine with the others also. AR would not say this is true and this is wrong. He would give us some material, and then we would ask questions. And one of his strong motto was everything is earned. So you have to kind of earn your own understanding of the situation. And he would not interfere so much with it. If you had questions, it was available. He would answer them, guide you, but you have to take responsibility for your own understandings, your own conclusions. And I really like that about him. At first, it was a bit frustrating, but then I kind of understood this is the way to sovereignty and being your own decider in this life. So how I did it is I felt through the information and took in what felt right to me and forgot about the rest. And this is how AR would, quote unquote, educate us, help us educate ourselves.
Sasha, that's a question.
Okay. No, I wasn't ready with the question yet. I was still taking in what Benoit said.
So AR was kind of, I just had an image of Merlin with young Arthur. He's not spoon-feeding you the information, but he's helping you to develop your intellect and your problem-solving abilities. What did you want to say?
Well, just this is the same kind of line that Marduk or the Supreme Rockefeller was saying, that all the ill that humanity has experienced was all part of the learning experience so that they could learn themselves how to supersede that ill, and that now the Anunnaki have decided to go beyond the war between Nanar, the king of Nibiru, and Marduk, who's been sort of running things here on Earth, and enter the Aquarian age, the age of Enki. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Not explicitly with me, at least. I know it was a subject that was of more interest of other people linked with AR. But I think AR understood that. So the question, imagine this: imagine there are races around planet Earth that are really advanced, and looking at the problems that are present on planet Earth today, one may ask, why are they not coming and save us? Lots of people are waiting for the return of the Christ, waiting for the angels to save them, the ET to save them. But the nature of the universe and the free will that we enjoy here makes it that in the end, no one can come and save us. We have to take responsibility for ourselves and for what we experience and find the solutions within ourselves. And since the outside world is a projection of the inner world, the solutions will appear by themselves. So I think AR's contribution there was a lot of value in the information it would provide, but there's also a great deal of value in the way he conveyed it to us, meaning you have to earn everything and take responsibility for what happens to you. No one will come and save you. You have to become sovereign yourself, and then everything takes care of itself.
It's one of the things that I think AR himself did, at least he reports that in his meetings with the Linkage Institute and the ETs, is that the ETs actually did help us. First of all, there was this huge wave of a solar flare, AR writes, that came through Earth, and they built this deflection shield around it, as they have around so many other planets, and also that Nibiru was scheduled to have its perigee, its nearness to us, at a time when we would be in our orbit in a threatening place, and that the Bordon says that he actually moved the timeline of the crossing of Nibiru and Earth relative position, so that the terrible things that people have been predicting wouldn't be done by nature. They might still be done by our fellow man. And so it seems to me that he actually did indeed get some help from the ETs.
Yes,
I'm not sure that's
of course.
true, but that's what I think I read.
Yeah, that's too.
Yes,
yeah.
that's true. That's true. I was actually part of that project. What I mean is, if we compare humankind as a little child, the parents around it, if they see the child is going to hurt himself badly, or if something bad, a car is coming full speed towards the child, the parent will pick him up and move it. Of course, that's the kind of help that we can receive. But in the end, we have to learn ourselves to manage ourselves. So for the threats that we are not in position to solve ourselves, there's no problem in receiving help there. But we have to get our shit together also, and we have to grow into a responsible, sovereign race, responsible beings that can take care, that need to stop destroying the world around them, and learn to live in harmony with nature and with all kind. So these are the problems that we cannot be saved from. We have to learn that ourselves. But it's great that you made the distinction, yes.
Yeah, I get that. So that brings up a big question for me, is we are obviously being interfered with, and we do not have all the information to make intelligent decisions for ourselves, because there's this Illuminati faction, which is probably Marduk, and every time we have an invention, Tesla solved all the problems 100+ years ago. We have green, clean energy systems. We have technology where we can teleport rather than, fly around in boxes that follow the earth and crash into each other and kill people. And we have technologies for basically being physically immortal. But all these technologies and informations are being denied humanity, repressed, and so I don't think it's fair that we get judged that we're not, showing up to clean up our act and get our shit together when we're being denied all the information that we need in order to make intelligent, conscious decisions. What do both of you think about that? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, on one level, I agree, and that was my feeling for a few years. When I first learned that we do create our own reality, the question comes right away, okay, why are we bombarded with fear, with limiting information, with information that contracts us, that limits us? Why are we not educated into the magnificence that lives within us and how to use it? And of course, there's a feeling of betrayal and injustice that arises from that. And we are indeed being interfered with. These on many levels. Now, I've worked also with someone AR knew, and I've met through the Life Physics group called Jonathan Davies, who is in connection with many beings on higher levels. And from their perspective, the interference has stopped, or the connection from the bad cops to their master, bad cops, to use Michael's language, he's being severed. So it's like cutting the roots of a tree. Now I'm under the impression that it's just a matter of time now before the bad interference stops. And so from my perspective, we can expect much more, first of all, a rise and an awakening much more stronger than the previous century, I would say, because the interference will diminish greatly. And as you call it, the Aquarian age, it's being unfolded in a much stronger way. So the interference will just stop. We start seeing that with whistleblowers putting information out. Yes, some governments do not have the best interest of mankind at their heart. They are aligned with another purpose, with other imperatives. And once mankind learns that and can unplug from its influence, take responsibility once again for themselves, stop hoping for the politics to take care of them or for the business to take care of them. They learn to do it themselves. Then we enter a new phase in human consciousness, I would say. But indeed, that's kind of the hard part to swallow. Yes, the world is not all sunshine and lollipops. There are some beings who do not want to see mankind becoming a sovereign race. We are cattle to them in a certain way, and they like it that way. So we have kind to fight our way upstairs and do the right thing consistently, and not be too much influenced by those who pretend to have the power. The power is within each and every one of us, and this is what we need to learn.
So Sasha has a question. Go ahead.
No, I thought I was going to get a turn to.
Oh, you're going to respond to that. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, I concur with your analysis. I totally agree with it. Some of the recent stuff that's come out with people that are in contact with aliens that meet regularly, particularly Michael Sala has reported that the Dracos who have been aligned so much with Marduk while he was in his villain role, as it were, have asked to have safe passage, not just for themselves out of our solar system, but for their Illuminati, the people that are stooges, the people that have been consciously or unconsciously carrying out their reduce the population agendas, and to let them go. And that AR was actually saying the big problem we now have is, what about all the people that want to avenge or get justice for the 9/11 murders and the various wars that the Illuminati and those under Marduk's control have caused, and would they let them go free too? And how couldn't they have a truth and reconciliation when these people are such vast murderers? But when you look at the situation, that's if not punishing them and letting them go is going to get us out of the matrix. It sounds like a very fine thing. And one of the things is that Michael Hall has recently talked about. Hill has talked about how Marduk has been relieved and is really glad that he has been relieved of having to carry out this horrible agenda, and he is redeemed, and he wants to help us out, supposedly with the Savior who is the Supreme Rockefeller. I don't know if that's
Supreme.
Supreme. What's Supreme?
Oh, Supreme. Okay.
Just spelled differently, Janet.
Okay.
Okay, but in any case, what Michael says is that his direct information from Marduk and other Anunnaki he's in touch with is that they have decided the war between Nanar, the king of Nibiru, and Marduk, the ruler here on Earth, the clandestine ruler, is over, and the Galzu, the higher dimension from the Galaxy Federation, has basically said Earth is now under the aegis of Enki. We get creativity, we get freedom, we get play, we get love. Things are going to get a lot better. The Satya Yuga, the bad times the Kali Yuga is over, and we are entering the Satya Yuga, the age of Aquarius. I hope it's true, but in any case, celebrate as though it were or not, because celebration is cool.
I want to say one more thing,
yes.
and then back. From what you were saying, and now there's all these words on top of it, but let me see if I can get what my question was. And it's perfect. We're having a great dialogue. It's just that you said a very important thing, that we have the power. So if I'm getting this correctly and I understand what's being said, is that the bad cops or the what do you call it, the black hats or whatever you want to call it, they no longer have control, but we're like on automatic, and we're operating from the original game that was set up for us, and we don't know that the game is over. So what I'm getting is we ultimately created the game in the first place. We think that it was the different factions, the light and dark hats, the good guys and the bad guys, but ultimately at our highest level of existence, we are the game makers and the game players. So if we can up-level our thinking to the level that we have the power, we are the technology, as A.R. Bordon would say, then we can break this hold, this evil matrix hold on us, and move into this Aquarian age, which is right before us, but we're kind of have our blinders on. Okay, back to you, Ben, and all your comments. Thank you for your patience.
The comments, first on what Sasha brought to the table. Yes, I'm very much in favor of forgiveness, and it's I think these people who had been busy working towards imprisoning mankind, who want to change team, who realize it's no longer serving them or us, and they want to get in line and align with universal principle. If that's their intention, let them be, and the vengeance there would be a relic of the old ways. So true sovereignty would imply also the possibility of forgiveness. It doesn't mean to be too nice either. Forgiveness means, all right, you take your decision, but you stop the behavior. Then needs to be firm. We need to be firm also on this, and demand that all interference stop. So just by this request, the energy changes within you, and you're less inclined to fall for power manipulation. Now, as far as the context go, there are many different stories that overlap or not. This is why I liked also AR's contribution in the model of physics. Is once things become confused around me, I just go back to the basic principles. That we do create our own reality, and whatever the context, the past was, the story, did we set up this game for ourselves or not, it rests that we are here in the present, and we can make new choices. We can discover that indeed the world is not a scarce place. There's a lot of abundance around. There's a lot of ways to serve each other, to play with each other, to enjoy yourself. And once we drop all the baggage of what has been imposed upon us, has been encoded within us, the fear and the pain and the suffering, encoded for generations and generations through wars, scarcity, famine, and whatnot. And much of it was artificial. This is what's a bit hard to swallow. But once we can rise above that, the stories don't really matter. You just enjoy life, you celebrate life, and you live as you see fit. You are a sovereign being, and you can follow your conscience, and no longer the programming you received, the conditioning you received. And this is truly, I feel, the work of our generation is to emancipate ourselves from the conditioning and realize that we have had the freedom all along. Now we have the knowledge, we have great technology to assist us in unfolding ourselves, in freeing ourselves, in healing ourselves. And it is our prerogative to take advantage of that. And those who see that path can lead us to a better future and create a better human civilization.
Wow, I concur entirely. I studied anthropology with the great British social anthropologist M.G. Smith, and he taught that the basic human sanction is nullity. Stop participating in institutions that grind people down and that crush your own ability. And the French are, of course, our great examples. The French unions, when they decide not to participate in some terrible capitalistic scheme, actually exert power by nullity, no longer supporting the institutions that grind.
Yes.
What do you think are some of the solutions? Yeah, go ahead. Comment on that, and then I'll ask a question.
So again, coming back to first principles, if you bring in your vibration, if we bring with yourself the conflict and the pushing against those bad systems, you keep creating them at some level. The solution is to get in touch with your energy, with your soul, with your information cloud, whatever you want to call it. Get in touch with that and start building new systems. Start serving regardless of what others are doing, are engaged with. No one is interfering with you anymore. You build something that makes sense to you, that makes you come alive, that brings out the best in you, that brings out awesome energy in you, and you just share that. And we all have different perspectives. And part of this new way is also to allow people to keep hurting themselves if they want. If that's still their experience, if that's they are to experience here, let them focus on yourself, focus on how you can serve, and the rest will take care of itself. To me, human civilization will transition from a kind of matrix-controlled, top-down civilization towards a system made of self-organizing systems, meaning people will step up to the plate, will say, hey, I think there's a better way, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to wait for other people to give me permission to do it. I'm not going to wait for people to acknowledge and validate my ideas so that I can feel good. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take my insights and I'm going to test them. I'm going to serve people with them. I'm going to build a system around it. I'm going to, and this is going to keep growing, and until the rest is dissolved and all that's left is a new system that is sustainable, that is oriented on service, that is aligned on service, and then the scarcity will simply disappear. The control will disappear because their time is done, and there's a better way. And just like a block of ice will melt into hot water. Well, these systems that freeze the energy, they can no longer exist around systems that work on a higher vibration. And once you start with the energy of service, and service to me is loving people through your actions and your intention, well, from the business perspective, go ahead and try to compete against that. There's no way you can compete against that, because the value that you deliver is so huge and so precise and so what people need. Well, people will stop putting poison into their bodies because there's better food available. People will stop watching the news on TV because it makes them feel small, and they're going to watch videos about how they can follow their passion. And the old system will just disappear by itself, and there's no need to pay attention to it. There's no need to fight against it. There's no need to push against it. All that's needed is to connect with yourself, find your best intention, and act on it and enjoy it. And that's it. It's really simple once you get into the dynamics of it.
I find this is one of the ways to bridge the separation and dichotomy, which is run by greed and excessive competition in our present matrix, is to look within yourself for the things that you really hate, that the Illuminati or the opposed others that you separate yourself from are in you. So you look at your own greedy self and or acquisitive self, and say, what does the acquisitive self really need? And it won't come down to material things. It'll usually come down to affection, attention, and things like that. And so same too with the competition. If you look at your competitive side, a side that wants to be on top in a hierarchy, which characterizes the Illuminati, you can see that the highest vibration of that competition is really cooperation. And so the more you can feel within yourself a resonance with those who you think you ain't, who you think are your opposite and your enemy, the more you'll be able to connect with them. And then your concept of self goes beyond you versus them to include them. And so then service to self, if self includes the holotropic recognition that the apparent other is really you too, then service to self and service to other is the same. And that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I fully agree with it. I fully agree with that. Transcendence is really the key. And there's really two ways of looking at competition. The first one is, let's say I want to open a pizza restaurant, and there's another pizza restaurant opening next door. He's my competitor. He's going to take from me. And there's this fear of not having enough, of having other people take from you. And so you want to be better than them. You want to beat them. That's one level of competition. This one doesn't feel good and doesn't have a future. There's another level of competition that stems from another perspective, a broader perspective, and that's where topological thinking and intelligence acceleration come in. Is take the example of a tennis player. On one level, of course, it's playing against another player, and there's competition. There's only one winner for the match. But from another level, they're both dedicated to playing tennis, to the art of tennis. And the stronger your opponent is, the stronger you need to be to beat him. So the strength of your opponent is a gift to you, and you are both aligned on exploring the art of tennis. And so your opponent is no longer an enemy. He's a gift to you once you take that higher perspective. And that's the level of competition that is healthy, because you're not lazy. You still want to earn you still want to win the game. You want to play your best, and that's really the gift of your opponent. It brings out the best in you, and then everyone benefits because the public can see a greater tennis match because there's a high stake and it's interesting. And everyone wins, even the one who loses the match. Maybe it's one of the best match of his career. So competition takes a whole other meaning there once you understand everything is one and you're both working the same direction.
So what I wanted to know more about is, what was it? Intelligence acceleration and personal evolution. So how do we accelerate our intelligence? This seems like we need to go to another level in order to understand all this information and to wrap our heads around it and start to live from it. What I do is I take these complex concepts and then I simplify it down to things that are doable for my poor little brain here that's in overload from being in base shock or survival mode. And I wake up each day and I go, okay, I'd like to do, there's 100 things I'd like to do, and my wants and my needs and desires and everything. But what can I do today? What are the yeses? And so I break it down to following the yeses. And then from the yeses, and instead of having to figure out the whole continuum, from the yeses, the path unfolds itself, and we allow ourselves to ultimately follow our bliss. If it's a no, don't do it. Change the channel, go down a different path, go in a different direction, shut off the news. I like what you're talking about, being in service to others. The problem with being a woman, a socialized woman in the 21st century, most women are conditioned to be so much in service to others, and it's really nothing has changed much. I'm watching shows from the 50s, and very little has changed. In so much in service to others until the point where they're just drained and exhausted, and they don't even know who they are. Women, not all women, but most women, and it's getting worse. We're actually devolving in this. So balancing, we need to balance the masculine and feminine, move into partnership away from patriarchy. Gordon Giannotto's symbols is the 51% in service to others. Are you the selfish ETs or the...
Bordon says you only need 3%.
Bordon says we need 3%, or is it 4%? We've been discussing that. So I'd like to put that back on the table and also talk about how do we accelerate our intelligence individually and collectively so we move from a level 0 civilization to at least a level 1. I would love to join the Federation. I've been a part of it in my contact experiences throughout my life. I'm an experiencer contactee, although I'd like to bring it down to the 3D level that AR had, where he was going to meetings, and I keep putting it out there, and I say, Anki, please come down and have a cup of tea with me today, and let's discuss what's going on with this planet and how we can correct it. Back to you, Ben.
All right. Well, I think you got it. The first step in intelligence acceleration, you got it. You said, follow your bliss or follow the impulse, the highest excitement. So if you break it down, there are really two things there. There's the feeling of that has a direction. Follow, it means there's a direction. So that's more the feeling side. And then there's the conscious side, realizing, oh, there's a feeling there and it has a direction. So it's about integrating the awareness, the logical thinking, and the feelings. And that's really what intelligence acceleration is about. It's about, so the cerebral cortex is not the only organ in the body-mind that processes information. There are several aspects of us that process information. And the main idea of intelligence acceleration is to integrate all of them. And the way is, as you described, to follow what energizes you. Now, the other part of it, that's the basics of it. How to develop it, there are many ways to develop it. One of them is what Sasha spoke about twice already during this interview. It's about transcendence. To integrate means to resolve the conflicts, the separation, the fragmentation within ourselves, and that's done by bringing the two poles together and rising above it. So if you see the body mind as one system, one unit, one big computer, and if you look at the way open systems evolve. Usually, the way it works is they receive more energy that they can handle, and then the system reorganizes itself on a higher order to be able to process and to sustain these new levels of energy. So if we go back to what you said, Janet, and you say, follow your impulse. The impulse has some energy in it. If you follow it, if you do something that feels good, you have more energy within you. So this energy builds up in your body mind, and this is the source of the evolution of your body mind. The more you follow what energizes you, and what energizes you is aligned with truth, and service is the action part of doing it. You energize your body mind. Conflicts just fall by themselves. Sometimes you have a bit of a struggle, and you have to wrestle a little bit with your conflicts. But that's the way to go. Now, what helps is a broader perspective, a map, so to speak, to kind of navigate within these. And there we go back to the working model that has a few really interesting principles. One of them being that the outside world is a reflection of the inner world. So kind of by fixing things on the outside, you really fix yourself, you really work on yourself. And by working on yourself, you really help the world outside also. So it's kind of a self-fueling loop. And once you get this loop, you understand, you see how it works, and you start walking this path, it becomes, well, it's a bit hard in the beginning because it's new and mankind is not used to working that way. But once you go full circle a few times, it's kind of the body-mind already knows this. We just have to remind who we are and how it operates. But it's a very natural way of operating, and it's self-fueling, it's self-sustaining, which is very interesting from the business perspective. So all you have to do is see reality as a mirror, and if you want to change something in the mirror, you have to change something in yourself, and then the image, the reflection takes care of itself. So you take the first step, you just change something, you see the effect on the outside, and then your body-mind starts integrating. Then of course there's technology that can accelerate it, assist you in integrating everything. But we've touched on the basic principles. So it's integrating the different information processing centers, the logical side and the intuition. Then it's about doing self-work and attain transcendence on your illusions. And then it's about surfing the wave, so to speak, since it's a self-fueling system, and you got it.
It's your turn.
I'm just taking it in, but what I flashed on was at each level of your consciousness, there's a dichotomy to be bridged between, and so centering yourself at the body level means being able to embrace your inner child and to embrace the parts of you that protect the vulnerability of the child. At the sexual level, it's being able to feel yourself and to feel your partners. At the power level, you can follow or you can lead. You don't have to be stuck in either place. You can, and the communication level, you communicate, or you remain silent, but you're a choice and centered in that respect. At the level of your visions, you can both intuit and you can also think things through. And at the spiritual level, you can sort of integrate it all. And then you regard all this internal system as like a little world that's resonating with the outside world, and everything that appears to be inside becomes available once you get your central channel. And we use Kundalini Yoga, which is a way of bringing the energy up the spine through each of these energy areas that I'm talking about. They're called chakras, and being able to open your chakras to the chakras of other people and to the universe. That's the way we go about it in the psychology that I've been developing anyway.
Yes, it's a very Kundalini is a very powerful energy it's very blissful to feel. And what you said about the inner child, it's really that what it's about. It's about transcending the shells and working through the shells that we develop to protect ourselves. And once you reach this innocence of the child, you become much more spontaneous, playful, and life becomes more a way of playing and feeling joy and expressing joy than enduring something because you're bad or because you don't deserve stuff or because you've been taught that life is hard. You can really connect to the innocence and the spontaneity, and life takes. And once you live from there, life really is different. It's really different.
Well, I wanted to kind of wrap this up. What would you like to tell our listeners? What else should we cover in this show today? And we could also do more shows further down the line, but I want to give this to people in snippets so they can wrap their heads around it and integrate it into their lives and have an understanding of it. So what would you like to add to today's show?
Yes, something that that's another gift that I received through AR. I met this member of the Life Physics group called Jonathan Davies, and he had developed what had been called on the Life Physics group forum. It was called, quote unquote, technology not from here. And it's called the Unity Bubble. And the Unity Bubble is a field of energy that is that can be transmitted around people. And it has transformed my life. It facilitates the integration of the body-mind. It prevents you from being interfered with. And if you're really clear on what we've spoken about, you want to align on service and you want to emancipate yourself from the conditioning, this is really a great tool. So I'm working currently with Jonathan Davies to develop the program, and we're going to make the Unity Bubble available for free on the internet so that more people can participate in this flowering of human consciousness. And the Unity Bubble is really something that has made a huge difference in my life. I'm very grateful for AR's contribution. And this is kind of a second, how do I say that? It's kind of a second-hand effect of AR is to have met Jonathan Davies. And lots of people from the Life Physics group already have a Unity Bubble, and I'm sure they enjoy it very much. And I'm very excited of making it available in the near future to those who wish to evolve themselves and enjoy a bit more of their lives.
What site are you putting it on? Can you give us the URL? I'm in the near future. I'm gonna release the website God in Business. That's GODSEIN and then business.com. And I'm gonna put a page. So we're gonna do regular broadcasts of the Unity Bubble. But right now, those who are interested can go to unitybubble.com. So that's UNITYBUBBLE.com. And that's Jonathan's website, and they can get more information about the Unity Bubble there.
Great. Well, I would like to invite you back for an AR Bordon panel. I'll send you an email after the show when I firm this up with some other members of AR Bordon's group. It's called the Writings of AR Bordon on Facebook. And what would you like to say? Final words?
Ben, I super enjoyed rapping with you. I feel like I can learn so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is just the beginning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being the seed that is the second flowering of these knowledge and these. It's truly a bliss and a lot of joy for me to hear about other people's stories and to be able to share all the. I feel immense love for AR and for the gifts he gave me, and it feels like I've only scratched the surface, and I'm immensely grateful to him, and I hope I can do him justice while participating in these radio shows, and let's see where it leads us.
Well, most definitely. I already can tell where we're going to go with this, and it's very far. I heard, and I hope this is true, that AR is not really dead, that he just kind of changed his name and went underground because things got too hot. But this is my bliss. I love doing these shows. I see this evolution of consciousness and awakening for humanity as my personal bliss, as well as the bliss for everyone if we can, get ourselves around this new paradigm thinking. And what do you want to say?
Well, I've been working with Michael and Karen to have a curriculum and to have a course of study in the works of Bordon. I certainly want to include your stuff, Ben, because I read it and I really like it a lot too.
Cool. Actually, I'm designing courses towards becoming sovereign and how to design system businesses and what we've talked about a little bit. And it would be a pleasure to contribute where I can serve and what I can.
cool.
Right. I think that the highest level is getting this information out during the course of our lifetimes. One of the things about being, 61 going on 62 is, wow, that went fast. And, our information is built on the shoulders of the giants of our ancestors who came before us. So before you know it, you're the ancestor. So it's not about money. It's not about the personal growth. It's about, there's no true altruism. So if we have reincarnation, I want to have a better world to come back into when I'm out of this one. If we're going to live to be physically immortal, I certainly want it to be a better paradigm. So ultimately, I am selfish about this, but that's okay because my selfishness is including the rest of the humanity.
Well, there's only one self. We're all part of the creator of all.
Right. So the next show I want to invite you to come on is probably the 30th of the month, and I know I talked to Michael Lee Hill, and he really wants to be in a show with you. Sorry about the mix-up on the time last time, but let's see if we can get
that was my
show.
fault.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you'd like to do a show. It would be an immense pleasure and honor to do a show with Michael. That's for sure. We can take our calendars and see when we can do that.
Okay, I will do that. And the other question I had is Jonathan. Is it Jonathan Davies or Beatty? Is it D-A-B-I-E-S?
D-A-V-I-E-S. I can send you his Facebook link via Facebook or via email, or you can find more about him on unitybubble.com, and that's his website.
And
there's a little bit about.
Do you think he would be good to have it on a show with us as well?
I can ask him. I can ask him, no problem.
Excellent. Okay, final words, everybody. Sasha, any final words for listeners?
Make aloha. The divine in me meets the divine in thee.
All right. And Ben, final words for listeners?
Just a big thank you to AR and to all those who want to build a better world.
Okay, thank you so much. Much love and blessings to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we have, let's see who we have tomorrow. Lynn Hartram. She's an experiencer, and we're going to talk about FREE, which is the new organization for experiencers, those who have had some kind of paranormal or extraterrestrial contact. We are coming forth and having Liberation Day, October 1st, 2015, where just like the LBGT movement, everybody came out of the closet. We now have same-sex marriage. We're going to come out of the closet as UFO, extraterrestrial, and paranormal experiencers and be able to talk about these things around the water cooler without it being at risk of losing our jobs. And with that, much love and blessings and aloha.
Namaste.
Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.